Hello everyone, this is Professor Reha back with the last Conquest SMITE Khepri guide. This is going to be the, at least temporarily, last episode of this. There are going to be exactly 3 circumstances in which I add on to this. The first is if a major change happens to Khepri during the season, and by major change I'm talking about something either a damage increase or decrease to a key ability, or a substantial alteration of his abilities, or some other kind of alteration that specifically affects either his viability or the order in which you build his abilities. That'll be circumstance 1. Now, considering they haven't touched Khepri in any significant way in absolute ages, this is unlikely to happen. The second condition in which I will add on to this particular miniseries is if somebody asks a very specific question about Khepri and I can't answer in just a single comment. This would be something that requires a bit more comprehensive discussion, and I might make a full episode of this guide, add on to this one, and discuss in depth what specifically the answer is. It really depends on what kind of question is asked, or possibly maybe a request for an attempt at a specific build, the pros and cons, maybe change up the build order of it, I don't know. So for questions about specific Khepri builds, if I can't answer that question in a single comment, I will make a whole video on it. The third condition is obviously, of course, when the seasons change. Every new season I will have to make, unless there has been no major change to Khepri through the season, or the itemization hasn't changed enough, I'll make a new Khepri video. Like, for example, if they come out with a whole bunch of new items. See, this season they restructured the starter items, so this was a good time for me to, I think, get into these guides, personally, once I'd explored with the season enough and had a stronger grasp of the itemization in this season. Next season, if they don't massively change up the items, then obviously that would be a completely different question. Now, to discuss this one right away, we have 4 physicals. Now, what this means to me is, right off the top, I want Tainted Steel, because I can go right into Tainted Breastplate, which gives me huge amounts of physical protection. We're going to be pretty heavily emphasizing physical protection here. We are going to actually go straight into the Jade Emperor's Crown, of course. We're going to be very aggressive about this. What is the landing opponent? Danzabaru. Okay, we're actually going to go ahead and get this then, and this. So the enemy team has made something of a team comp mistake. Now, does this mean they're guaranteed to lose? No, that is not what this means. What this means is that their late game is going to be pretty trash if they don't build very specifically. I just have to make sure that I counter that well enough. I have to keep in mind that they have they have 3 gods that really effectively use auto attacks, so Witchblade will actually be pretty nice here. They have Gilgamesh. While he's probably going to build a decent amount of ability focus, there is going to be some auto attacking there. Anhur obviously, and Kronos obviously. So Witchblade will be really nice to have in this game. I will also obviously be building Sovereignty, and probably Contagion. Again, we wipe the 2 smalls out so we can hopefully hit level 2 before the enemy support. Single, yes. And then we just slip right on over here. Alright, Gilgamesh is their support, which is fairly interesting. He's almost guaranteed to go into auto attacks then. I want to see what you're building here. What do you got, Gilgamesh? He's got shoes right now. He's probably going to assess the situation. But most likely he's going to build the animosity, or whatever it's called, that gives your auto attacks a bonus damage based on like 4%, I think, or 3.5% or some such of your HP there. Did I hit him with it? That kills me. Okay, I miscalculated. I miscalculated that. I didn't think that was going to kill me. That was entirely my fault. I thought I would be able to survive at least one more shot. I should have activated my health potion a little earlier. That was the main issue there. I activated that way too late. I should have activated that much earlier. But that's okay. They didn't get anything for it because it was only the tower killing me. I lost out on some experience and gold, but Gilgamesh had gone back, so I'm actually still going to be fairly ahead. The fact that Danzabaru died is a problem, and that's on me. So that's my mistake right there. So that is very unfortunate, but we can still recover. Well played. Yeah, this is going to be the end of me, I think. Yeah, I'm going to die here. Yeah. I am not playing well here. I am making mistake after mistake. Alright. Go right into this then. We're going to have to give up on any kind of itemized sustain here. I'm going to have to go hard into items, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to keep up with Gilgamesh, who is going to be starting, well, he built damage too, at least a little bit, which is fairly interesting. Yeah, it's fine. Good kill. That was a good shot. A good play, actually. I didn't see the play, obviously, but the fact that he killed him is very impressive and puts me back where I need to be, roughly speaking. No, it doesn't. It puts him still decently ahead. But, at the other hand, what is going to turn around and bite them later on is the fact that Gilgamesh is taking away a certain amount of Anhur's experience, and I don't think I'm going to get him. He has his jump up. That's not even going to be worth it. He is pulling away from the Anhur a decent bit, so when I leave, Danzabutter will probably have something of a small advantage in that way. I got what I needed out of that. Interesting. I probably should not start this. Just pull in those minions here. Get that assist credit. I'm gonna grab the gold for my boy here. There we go. Alright. I don't think Danzaburrow... Is that up, actually? Oh, it is. Nice. I'm gonna need to go back pretty soon, but I don't have the gold yet that I need to do so. I have not built any NP5, obviously, so this was going to be a problem just from the outset. Oh, he goofed. Oh, he done goofed very badly. I'm going to try to body block this. Doesn't matter if I die. Run, run. Good. Okay, he got out. That's all I needed there. That's all I wanted, was for him to get out of there safely. He got out of there safely. I may go back over there. It depends on how Umthrasu does. Okay, this is not going well. I'm going to go into mid lane and see if I can force Gilgamesh into the mid lane. Leave the Danzaburrow to fight the Anhur, which Danzaburrow should win, theoretically speaking. So that's really where I'm going to try to force this issue. Is that Gilgamesh over there again? I can't tell. I want them to notice I'm here. I want them to see I'm here. Oh, that was a bad shot. I was hoping to clip Kronos and get the minions, but that didn't wind up happening, so I missed everything. Kronos is going back. Alright. I don't see Gilgamesh, so he may be on his way over. I'm hoping he is. I do want to force that. I'm behind Gilgamesh. Yeah, see there. He's going to go for the animosity. Alright. I thought he would. I'm not sure we're going to make it over there in... never mind, they don't need us over there. That's fine. He's still over there. He is going to camp that. I'm actually fine with this. Because the longer he stays over there, the weaker Anhur will be in the long run. So, that's going to, in the long run, in the late game, be good. They're nerfing their own late game. They need Anhur, especially, because Anhur does bonus damage if they're in the sand. So Anhur is going to be one of their few opportunities to actually punch through the massive amounts of physical protection we can basically carry off here. So the fact that he is going to camp that lane and reduce Anhur's total golden experience is not a good thing for their end game. That is a terrible thing. So I'm actually perfectly fine with Gilgamesh staying there. That's going to hurt them in the long run. We, as a team, just need to make it to the late game, because right now, they have a stronger early game. You've got Sun Wukong with his physical protection boost. You have Gilgamesh, obviously, with his high flat damage. Although he does carry well into the late game, it's definitely his early to mid game is where Gilgamesh is at his strongest. Especially considering he's building support. He's not going to be building, well, theoretically he's building support. It's too early to tell yet. He could be faking it, like the AMC did. There's Gilgamesh, finally, okay. So he's now rotated. Notice, though, I've caught up to him in levels in this amount of time. Danzaburou is still tied with Anhur, and they're all... I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, we're fine here. But yes, you'll notice that I am almost caught up with Gilgamesh, and that the Danzaburou has not really lost anything from the Anhur. That he's pretty close to the Anhur's level. I know Susano is over there. Yeah, there he is. Attack. That was a nice ult. That was a really nice ult. Oh, that was a good jump. Cronus is back there, but I want to push this up. I absorbed that for him. Good. We need to get out of here. This is no longer good. That's done. Nice. Now I need to... Okay. Thanks, Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh just saved my life. You gonna dive me? No, I didn't think so, punk. Alright, so that didn't quite turn out that well, unfortunately, but that's, again, they do have the stronger early game, so I'm not that concerned about it. I probably should have bought a ward there, but I have a general idea that they're playing pretty aggressive anyways, so as long as we just assume they're going to be very aggressive about this, which is a pretty easy assumption to make at this point, we shouldn't really need wards. Just ask yourself, what is the most aggressive thing the enemy can do? And that's basically what the enemy team is going to want to do at this point, because they pretty much, I'm sure they've recognized that they have to win in the early to mid game. If it gets too late, they're completely doomed. So, this should be fairly interesting. I might build, as my only form of magic protection, I might build Voidstone. We have Persephone as our solo laner, so that might really help there. Alright. Gainsborough is farming, that's fine. I don't know where Susano is, which is mildly concerning. I don't know where Gilgamesh is, which is mildly concerning. Alright, so they're trying to chase down Sun Wukong. I'm going to go over there because I think they're pushing up too much, and I think they're about to get rotated on. I really don't think Danzaburou is going to get rotated on because he's pretty far back. Wukong should be okay for the short term. Okay, he warded that right as I was coming up on it, so we'll just leave. I do want to put this down here. Okay, Susano is over there. Alright. Danzaburou is temporarily behind, but that will change. That will change. He's got dominance first. Interesting. That's very interesting. Oh, oh, okay. I'm okay with that. Getting his beads? That's pretty nice. Alright, Anhur's going to start rotating because he just wiped the tower, so he's going to start rotating pretty aggressively on this. He'll probably rotate over here. There's Gilgamesh. What the heck? He is building tank. Okay. I saw him coming in. Nice. Good play, good play. Shoot. Still. Susano is somewhere around here, and he's low. There he is. Can we chase him down and kill him? I doubt it, because I don't think I move that fast. No, he's got speed buff. I don't have full shoes. That's not going to happen. Get behind me. Thank you. Nice. Nope. Oh, so close. Nice job. Okay, that worked out okay. We got a lot in that fight. I think only Kukulkan died. Now, I should have ulted him. I didn't realize he was actually in danger, so that's my fault for not noticing. I will accept the responsibility for that one. That was a huge mistake on my part, but I need to start working on my physical protections more. Next is Sovereignty. It'll give me some longer-term sustain. It will increase the protections of those around me, obviously. So that's the next item we're going to want to build. Then I'll probably go for Witchblade, and then Contagion, and then go into Void Stone for the benefit of the 3 magic damage sources, including myself, but I'm not that important in terms of that. But the other 2, that'll be fine for. So, get Void Stone for that reason, because I'm already increasing the damage output of the physical with my Rising Dawn. That's interesting. Kronos is going to be a problem to get rid of because of his ult. Danzaburo looks like he's fine. Notice that Danzaburo has caught up 1 level towards Anhur. Let's see what we can do over here. Oh, Gilgamesh is over there. Okay. Yeah, they're just trying to keep the Anhur down. I'm sorry, Danzaburo down. Probably a good idea, yeah. Okay, hello. Is she gonna be fine? No, she's not. I don't know which one I hit. The fake one? I hit the fake one, alright. Nope, you've made a mistake. I didn't need that kill, but the fact that he died is still important. Look, you can probably kill at least Gilgamesh if they press that. Now they're not going to. Okay. Not a great fight, but at the very least I got Susanoo down, so that means we've got a bit of a... We can afford to be a little bit more aggressive, at least in right lane it looks like, but I don't really see why you want to be at this juncture. But notice that despite how many times Danzaburo has died compared to Anhur, Anhur's only 1 level higher, and that's just because he keeps splitting it with other people on his team. And just assume they're going to go hardcore aggressive and we don't need wards. It's just a very easy assumption. Actually, I can just go in there and slap the tower really quick. That's not going to be a huge problem. If I die, it's not going to matter. I'm a 1 in 4 support with 7 assists. I mean, it's kind of whatever. Where's the minion wave? It's tough to tell. Okay, they're right at the first tower, so we just zoom in here. And then we run. Just get out of there. Alright, so that puts the left lane at least somewhat even. I mean, obviously it's heavily damaged, but at least it's still standing, so we're gonna mostly call it even there. Right lane is even. Mid lane is almost done. This is gonna be interesting. What are we gonna do here? Are they pressing? Does look like it, doesn't it? Yeah, he's chasing. He's chasing hard. Yeah, I see him. Kill him, kill him, kill him. I accidentally killed him, but at this point I was so desperate for him to die, I don't much care. Did that hit him? It did not, or he beats, one or the other. We should take mid now. I'm gonna assume Persephone doesn't need help with Sun Wukong. Oh, she might actually. Hey there. Okay, fair enough. And then they'll just get absolutely decimated by large copious amounts of tornado. I'm too far up. I'm gonna die for no reason. Yeah. I thought Kukulkan was gonna push that a little bit more aggressively than he did. That was my mistake. I did not realize he was being cut off. So that's on me, but I'm not too worried about it again because we are gonna have. I need Witchblade now, or do we have a lifesteal? Susanoo doesn't have any lifesteal yet. Gilgamesh doesn't have a whole lot of self-heal. Kronos has some. Sun Wukong, of course. Alright, we're going to go into Contagion next, just because I do want the MP5. There is enough healing, I think. They have 2 lifesteals and Sun Wukong. So I think there's enough lifesteal there and life regeneration where Contagion will be useful. Yeah, Kronos is definitely heading over there to gank. You'll also notice that yes, our buddy Genzaburo has caught up. He was permitted to solo farm, and that's what happens. This is exactly why you let them solo farm. I hit him. I don't know if his ult is up. Okay, yeah, that doesn't matter. Okay, his ult was up, and it probably still is. I don't know if we necessarily want to chase this. There's nothing really we need to get with that. Alright, yeah. I can keep Gilgamesh off. Oh, that was a massacre. They'll wind up living, though. No, he won't. Good. Alright. What the heck? Oh, I couldn't ult in time because I was being popped up.
That sucks.
Yeah. I got popped up. That one actually wasn't entirely my fault. I'll take 50% on that one. The Susano didn't mean to hit me with that. I can't say probably. I might have been able to dodge it. I'm not sure. Oh, Persephone's way up there. Nice kill though. Yeah. Let me see if I can lure him in for you. Did he back off just because you were there? Yeah, he did. All right, he's not gonna press me on this. I can back pretty safely. Oh wait, what? Is this a problem? No. That's a dead Gilgamesh. Nice. Whew. Danzaburo came just in time for that. I gotta get out of here. I need everything. There we go. Alright. I also notice I am ahead of the Gilgamesh. I'm not 100% sure how. I'm behind him in gold, which is interesting, but I'm ahead of him in experience, which is interesting. How... Pardon me. Let me just choke on some saliva there really quick. Anyways, I think that's mostly because he's trying to go for the kills. He's not hanging out in lane like this a lot. We've also overall as a team got a lot more going on here. I have way more assists. It's probably the assists here that I've been getting. The minions I've been assisting on is most likely where this is coming from. I just want to make sure they weren't doing the Gold Fury. Alright, I have time. I can go back for Contagion. Go all the way over there again. Next I'll get Witchblade. And then finally I will finish up with, I think a Void Stone would probably be best. Like I said, we have 2 magic damages that we can use here, so... I'm already on that? Alright, it's fine. There's Gilgamesh here. We are going to be just fine here. We take out Anhur, that's like half of their Gold Fury potential. What the? Get out of here with that absolute nonsense. Chronos is going to be a problem. Body blocking? Good. Let me see. Yeah, I'll keep him off. Oh, we've got Ansley. Interesting. Okay, this is not a good situation. You absolute mad lad. Okay. Nope. Okay, I at least activated my shell first. Oh, I did not have my abduct up. I should have waited on that blink. That was stupid. I'm playing badly this game. Wow. Ooh, splitting up surrender. We can still win this. No. We got this. got this late game. I am reasonably confident we will be able to turn this around late game just because of their team comp. I'm not that concerned. I get Witchblade, I'm going to have a much easier time with Kronos, I'm going to have a much easier time with Anhur, I'm going to have a much easier time with Gilgamesh, who is definitely going to be going into, I've forgotten now. What do you call it there? You know what I'm talking about. Animosity, that's the one. Definitely going to be going into that. Okay, Anhur has surpassed the Denzaburo because of that last fight. That was a really good fight for them. We overstayed. See, the problem is we won the initial fight, and then we stayed too long. That was our problem. We can gank this. We can gank this. They're not all here. That was a good silence. The Anhur just absolutely. This is the wrong one. Oh, where was Anhur? Yeah, he was right there. Okay. Yeah, once I need that Witchblade. I'm assuming Anhur has Executioner. He really needed that. Let me see. He did build Shin size. I'm not that surprised. Tailkind's obviously. The Void Shield is a smart pickup here. Somewhat curious about the Shifter's Shield, but okay. I mean, considering he was against Persephone, he probably should have built Genji's first. I understand why Shifter's Shield, the physical protection, helps him against the tower and the minions, and when he's in danger of dying, he gets 40 extra magic protections. I mean, I see where he's going with that, but I just think it would have been better as his second pickup. I'm sorry, not a second pickup, his fourth item rather than his third. But the Void Shield was a smart pickup. Obviously, he was going to build Executioner. If he didn't build Executioner, that would have just been silly. We need to actually prioritize Anhur as a result of that Executioner. That's going to be a fairly interesting task. Okay, alright. Just pop me around a little bit more, it's fine. Okay. Wow. He killed me in midair after I got kicked by Gilgamesh. That was very interesting. I've never had that interaction before. We need to prioritize the Anhur. If we can kill Anhur, we're golden. That's all we need to do. Although at the very least we did enough damage to Anhur that he had to go back. So that's really nice. I see. We might actually... Well, we could always sell this in exchange for Spectral. It gives me more health. I don't really need the 20 power. But I'm definitely going to need Spectral because he is building crit. He is the only one building crit, but he's hitting hard enough with it that I will need Spectral armor just to counter that. That's fine, though. That's pretty much what I expected. He's building about how I was expecting, I just need other things first. Just want those assist credits. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, we're getting to the critical mass point where one side or the other will tip the scales into a very definite favorable position. Either they finish this off in the next 5 or so minutes, or we get the protections we'll need. Kukulkan should have built Breastplate of Valor, honestly. Beyond that, I'm pretty much fine. Let's see here. This is probably worthless, but it's worth a shot. Yeah. I was hoping I could slow them down a little bit, but it meant nothing. Let me see here. Yeah, we lost. Alright, so why did we lose? Now, this is actually going to be fairly interesting to break down, because I have a pretty good idea of why we lost. First off, I played like trash, and with a team comp that emphasizes a particular damage type so hard, I should not have done as badly as I did there. That's on me. That's from very poor decision making. That's not my build so much. My build was fine. Mostly it was a matter of very poor decision making on my part, personally. And I mentioned all of these poor decisions as we went through, so we don't need to really talk about those right now. They are there earlier in the video, and they'll also be in the description as well. That's fine. Danzabaru, I am somewhat curious about his picking up of dominance first. I don't have a huge problem with it. It is an interesting choice. It's not necessarily a bad one. It does somewhat inhibit his sustain, and I'm wondering if that's the reason why Anhur was able to do so well against him 1v1, or maybe not. It's an interesting question. He does have Death's Embrace to kind of balance that out. I don't really, not having been there, and well, actually even better, and more specifically, knowing that he was ganked several times is a large part of why he was where he was, so it's tough to say whether or not building dominance was a good or a bad thing for him overall. He did overall play as well as he could. The enemy team did almost shoot themselves in the foot by being in that lane too much for Anhur. Just the fact that Anhur was able to pick up some kills later on from the team fights. The really big team fight. Oh, Gilgamesh did not build animosity. Okay. Interesting. He really actually dedicated himself to it. Okay. Another problem was in the early game, Gilgamesh hits like a steam train as an early game support. That's why he rushed the Warrior Tabi. He wanted to get a couple of kills, like do a little bit extra damage. Now, I don't personally agree with this because he did pull away from the Anhur in the early game. If I had been a more on-meta pick than Khepri, this would have been a different story. That's not necessarily his fault. I mean, he wouldn't have known that I was playing Khepri. He may have built that way specifically because he knew I would have a harder time recovering from that, maybe. But it was a risk that he took, and like I said, there was that point where Danzabaru was catching up with Anhur very quickly, despite dying 4 times as much as Anhur, simply because the Anhur was not allowed to solo farm that much. They did almost shoot themselves in the foot there. They were very close to putting Anhur in a bad position. So they kind of towed the line there, and Gilgamesh rushing Warrior Tabi and picking up some early game kills was a part of that. Did it work out for them? Yes, but it was a risk. And I want you to understand that as impressively as they did, it was a risky move. It was a very win-all or take none home kind of thing. It was very, very risky. It did work out for them again, but that is quite a risk. Overall, he built pretty smart. The chin size, obviously, he just wanted to grab some extra damage in there. I think he would have been better off with animosity for that and make this into something else. I do disagree with the chin size. Even as an aggressive support, I disagree with this choice here. At that point, though, they were so far ahead. Well, they weren't that far ahead throughout most of the game. I mean, they only ended with 8 more kills than us, so it wasn't a huge snowball or anything. It just kind of, we fell off a cliff at the end there, basically. But this was, I just don't agree with this. He would have been better off with animosity here if he wanted damage. I think the compassion is a better pickup for his support, obviously. But if he wanted to do some extra damage, animosity would have been the move there, not chin size. And then he could have used this for, say, Shogun's Kusari. We did have, in fact, 3 sources of magic damage, myself, Kukulkan, and Persephone. Persephone, being the solo laner, was going to be dealing some decent damage. Kukulkan, obviously. So I think, actually, he would have been better off with Shogun's Kusari here. Get his attack speed up that way, get some MP5. Go with Animosity. He maintains his damage output increase, and then make this probably into, if he's going to what I think he was going to go into here, Contagion. And then he would have had the magic protections out of Shogun's Kusari to kind of balance himself out all across the way. So I think Shogun's Kusari would have been a better pickup here for him than Shinsai's. This is just my personal opinion, based on how I like to play support. But I think he could have been more effective with Shogun's Kusari. He also would have increased not only his own attack speed, but Kronos', who obviously relies on attack speed, and Anhur's. So I think he gave up a really great opportunity here to really buff his own team, especially since Anhur just hard carried them. I mean, the Susanoo was hitting pretty hard. The Kronos obviously was a major source of damage because he was the only source of magic damage on their team, and that's pretty significant. But the Anhur and the Kronos really carried them across the victory line here. You could see the Susanoo starting to fall off. He wasn't building enough penetration. He only had, what, 25 flat? Yeah, 25 flat, which isn't going to be enough. He was not hitting hard enough to really mean anything. His ult was hitting hard, and that was about it, at least at the end there. In the mid-game, he was still hitting decently hard. This is partially because not a whole lot of people on our team really effectively adapted to the presence of so much physical. I disagree with Amaterasu picking up Wind Demon here. The Stone-Cutting Sword is fine. Ninja Tabi is fine. These are great. I totally understand why she picked these up. Wind Demon, I disagree with. You really only want to be building crits if you're building at least some form of lifesteal. And she not only wasn't building lifesteal, but she doesn't need lifesteal. She had Eye of the Jungle. She was probably going to go for Protector of the Jungle because that's a really hot item right now. It gives huge boosts in power and protections. It gives you a really nice spike in your protections. She would have been able to get some physical protections out of this as well. Notice the 35 physical protection here. I think her mistake was the Wind Demon. This is where she started falling off. She was doing really well. She had the Stone-Cutting Sword, great. Ninja Tabi, great. This served no purpose for her. She did not need crits. She should not have been building crits in her position. There was no reason to build this here. She should have gone right for the Berserker's Shield right after the shoes, right after Ninja Tabi, and then either Shifter's Shield for just a splash more physical protections, because again, they were for physical protection, and then probably go into something like Hastened Katana, which is really strong on Amaterasu, or Frostbound, which would have been really good against Anhur, Gilgamesh, and Kronos. That would have been really handy to have, is a nice Frostbound hammer there. Would have increased her power, would have allowed her to use some auto attacks really effectively, would have given her more HP. Frostbound would have been a great pickup there. Wind Demon, no. Whatever this was going to be, also wasn't going to be worth it. That's why she did not do so well overall. This is why she really fell off in the late game. This is why she died so quickly. She didn't need crits here. What she really should have done is splash in a bit more physical protection, go in for something else. Like I said, Shifter's Shield would have been a great pickup. Frostbound Hammer would have been fantastic, of course, as I said. Hasten Katana would have been at least an acceptable substitute if you didn't want to go Frostbound. Although why you wouldn't want to go Frostbound against that team, like I said, it decreases the enemy team's attack speed, which is fantastic. In retrospect, speaking of attack speed, I actually probably should have built Witchblade in place of Jade Emperor's Crown. This is pretty weak, like I said. This is something you really want to build in the early game, but I think with not only this game, but the last time I built this, and some games in between these episodes that I've been playing with my family, I really need to stop building this. This used to be a really favored pickup of mine. It's really not any more worth it. I mean, look at this. These days, you're picking up a lot of only Anhur's Ninja Tabi, and even then, people are building stacks. It's just no longer as worth it as it used to be, in all honesty. So I do need to stop picking this up, straight up. You know, I've been trying to cling on to this, like, this can work, this can work, this can work. No, I need to stop picking this up. I should have built Witchblade here, gone into Reinforced Shoes. I should have looked at their team comp, gone, oh, Witchblade. Gone into the Reinforced Shoes, Sovereignty, Contagion. Really, I should have had Witchblade instead of Jade Emperor's Crown. Leave the Jade Emperor's Crown in the dust. I really should have. Potentially, the Tainted Steel would have worked in the late game, which is really what I was gearing for. The problem, I think, is, and I built this because I could build more physical protections out of this, I should have probably built Sentinel's Gift, because I actually wound up really needing the MP5 from that, more than I was expecting to at the start of that match. And although they wound up building the kind of lifesteal that I would want Tainted Steel for, would that have mattered in the early game? No. I mean, neither Anhur nor Gilgamesh were self-healing in any way, shape, or form. Sun Wukong has a built-in self-heal, and the rest of this is lifesteal, which is pretty easy to stop with Contagion anyways. So, should I have built Tainted Steel? Retrospectively, probably not. I probably should have gone Sentinel's Gift on this one. The Persephone's build, totally fine. I think probably she should have built the Vampiric Shroud instead of Sands of Time, but that's about the only thing I'm going to say. And again, Vampiric Shroud only because they had 4 physical. It's the only reason why I would say that. Sands of Time is really strong on Persephone, but this was an extenuating circumstance where the physical protections from the Vampiric Shroud probably would have done her a lot more good. Also, the Rod Up to Hootie at the end there, she is the solo lane. She did excellent, don't get me wrong, but I think possibly splashing a bit more physical protection would have been really nice. The Celestial Lotus... the Celestial Legion Helm, I believe, is called. Celestial Legion Helm, yes. I think would have been a better pickup here. Not as much power, but the physical protections she could have gotten. She would have been able to maintain the MP5. She didn't really need that much. Well, she kind of did. The Sun Wukong was going decently well on the magic protections. I've already mentioned how I think he should have swapped Shifter's Shield and Genji's Guard, but otherwise his build is really good. That's my only criticism of his build. Kronos built really well. Lifesteal here. Good old extra attack speed here. That's good. Telkines, Rod Up to Hootie. Yep. Spear of Desolation. Yep. He built really well. That's fine. Susano, like I said, just doesn't have enough penetration. That's a problem I've noticed that a lot of junglers have been facing, is that a lot of them are forgetting. This is the second time in 5 recorded matches, but there's more behind the scenes you haven't seen, in which the junglers aren't building the levels of penetration they need. I don't know what's going on here, but whatever. But yeah, essentially our problem was that the team overall didn't react strong enough to the presence of physical damage. Danzabutter could have very easily gotten away with building a Berserker's Shield himself. That would have been really strong. Where would he have put it? I think he could have probably replaced Dominance, at least early game, with Berserker's Shield, because you still get a percentage physical penetration. So that's not really a huge problem there. Just me. But I think he could have gone, instead of Dominance right then, go into Berserker's Shield, save Dominance until he sold his shoes, and then get Dominance at that point. Because you don't need 20% penetration in the early game. Let's be really honest. Yes, this hits like a truck, but I think my only criticism here of his build, retrospectively, will be maybe Berserker's Shield here. My mistake, besides my gameplay mistakes, I should have built Witchblade right off the top, get that attack speed debuff in there. So that would be why we lost this game. Like I said at the beginning, we should have won that one, but as I also stated at the beginning of the game, we didn't react well enough to the overwhelming physical damage presence. I may actually, because this is such a unique match with the 4 physical, I may tack on another regular episode of Conquest Khepri guide before I go on to Arena. But this was a really interesting game. I don't really mind having lost this, because this does allow me to exemplify. Look, even if you see an overwhelming type of damage, you can still lose this if you're not building correctly. And this is a prime example of this. This is exactly what happened. The main issue is, yes, the enemy team had a fantastic early game comp. Anhur hits really hard in the early game because there's a flat 20 reduction with all of his abilities, all of his spear throws. Sun Wukong has his passive that gives him extra protections and power when he's low enough on HP. Great early game. Gilgamesh is an unusually damaging support in the early game. Susano has really high flat damage, hits multiple times in the early game. Kronos is a late game, but he was the only one who didn't... Well, Kronos still does respectably well in the early game, but they had a really strong early game comp here. And that's fine. I was expecting that personally. I made some mistakes, but I was expecting that personally, and I built wrong. And I played wrong, but our whole team did not build as optimally as maybe we could have, especially the Amaterasu, who was going into crits for some odd reason. It was just not the enemy team comp to be building crits into, personally. The Danzabutter, being a hunter, could get away with it, but again, I think he still should have splashed a Berserker Shield in there, would have given him a lot more sustain, especially against the Anhur in the early game. But that is essentially why we lost this very unusual match. Primarily, reason number 1, we didn't build right. All across the board, including myself. Problem 2 is, I think we really didn't prioritize the right people in the mid-game. We should have prioritized Anhur a little bit more. I should have ganked more often, retrospectively. I should have at least been there a couple of times just to make sure the Anhur died. I knew he was going to be a problem. I mentioned that in the mid-game, but did I actually rotate over there and do anything about it? Once or twice, but not as often as they rotated on Danzabutter. Yes, it did hurt them in the short term, but if I had counter-rotated like I should have after the fact and just immediately bailed, we would have been fine. Because Anhur doesn't have quite as many interesting escape options as Danzaburou has. Danzaburou has his ult and his leaf form, which is fairly interesting to get away from enemies with. And Anhur only has his jump and a well-aimed push with the spear, which is a bit iffy on how useful that is. But ultimately, yes, that is why we lost. So I am actually, this is going to sound idiotic, I am glad we lost because I get to talk about how you can lose against a team comp with an overwhelming damage majority, in this case physical. So I'm rather happy with the end result. Yes, I absolutely played terribly, and I built like an idiot, but it was a good example. It provides an excellent example of how badly this can go, even if you have a better team comp, how badly it can still go for you. So never underestimate your enemy based on their team comp. You have to make sure you're building to the enemy team comp. And I think, actually, I'm going to go off on a small tangent here. I think that's a problem with a lot of players right now. Over the events of the past year of 2020, a lot of new players came into SMITE. This is a great thing. But I think a lot of players, including some experienced players, have this tendency to kind of build the same build every time. And you can't really do that anymore. This season, you cannot afford to just have a flat build and just go with that. I'm going to give you, I mean, look at my Khepri build. Not the store. Get out of here. Look at how much I've got going on with Khepri. I have every single space here filled up, and I adjust it every so often. If you look at the first episode of this series and this episode, you will notice that my damage portion here has changed over the course of the games, and this is not only from the episodes themselves, but obviously I play between episodes as well, and personal testing in those episodes, because I'm always testing, you should always be trying to learn. Personal testing has revealed that yes, we need to, make some adjustments here and there. For instance, I have decided this particular game, Jade Emperor's Crown, is no longer a viable option. It does not reduce physical power enough to be worth it. It is no longer necessarily one whole item that it's reducing, so what do we do instead? Well, what if I'm going to bring back something I took out, which is this, because I originally had this for the off chance I play a solo lane Khepri. It occasionally happens. Will I eventually do this one day? Maybe. Do I want to? No, because Khepri is not my favorite solo laner for obvious reasons. Can it work? Sure. But it's tough to get to work. But I had this in here originally for the Divine Ruin, the Spirit of the Magus, both great things to build on a solo lane Khepri, because you're still going to be kind of playing quasi-support here with a solo lane Khepri, and those just work out really well for him. So that way you can kind of support the team as well if you really want to. Actually, you know what might be a little bit more effective? Maybe. No. We're going to stick with this for now. Maybe I'll just, at some point I may adjust that later, maybe I won't. But I have all of this filled out. I have all of this filled out with a lot of my gods. Not all of them I'm done testing with. Some of them I'm still testing with, and they don't have completely filled in god builders. But you can't afford to just do a static build this season, and I don't think you're going to for the duration of this game's life. You need to have Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. If the enemy team comp contains these things, what do I build instead? For example, if the enemy team comp contains a large amount of anti-heal, I go into Tainted Steel first thing. I shouldn't have gone into it that last game. That was a mistake, obviously. I should not have gone into this. Just end of story. This is my standard sustain, and this is if I'm running a solo lane Khepri. Okay, so I have an answer to all three different kinds of situations. Fantastic. Maybe I build Tainted Steel if my opponent in the solo lane merits it. I don't know. Typically, I build either Contagion or Spectral Armor out of this. I typically build Sovereignty, so these are my core, obviously Shoes, and I obviously usually build something out of here as well. Mail of Renewal, Gauntlet of Thebes, or Stone of Gaia. All very, common build pickups for me, very often. For damage, Voidstone, obviously. Actually, I do need to readjust this slightly because the Stone of Fall is actually really great as well. So we actually need to bring this down to the Druid Stone. So I have that. So I remember I do build that occasionally, but Stone of Fall is great as well. I have this in here. This is a hypothetical. I may, again, adjust this later. I'm not sure, but we're putting it in here for now because even as a solo lane Khepri, Divine Ruin or Spirit of the Magus can provide my team with some benefit. Obviously, the rings are here because if I decide to go into Animosity as a solo lane Khepri, obviously you're going to want some attack speed here. Hastened Ring and Telkine's Ring go without saying. Whether or not I go into Demonic Grip is an entirely different story. And obviously here we have Toxic Blade in case I do go into the auto attack Khepri. We have Winged Blade and Witch Blade, which we can use. This is self-explanatory pretty much. Prid Win for the rare moments when I really want cooldown reduction and really want both protections, and I really think I can use the shield. I really think the shield is going to be helpful. We have that in there. The cloak, obviously, I usually use Hide of the Urchin, but Mantle of Discord and Spirit Robe are occasionally really awesome. I don't usually build Magi's Cloak, but I will absolutely concede sometimes it's an absolute lifesaver. Against Ganesh, for instance, Gilgamesh is a great opponent to have Magi's Cloak. Do I always build this? Actually, I don't usually, generally speaking, but it is nice to have. Sometimes I do build this. Pestilence, obviously, I actually should be bringing this down to here because sometimes I do build Heartward Amulet, but for Khepri, it's either Pestilence or Heartward. I don't usually build Talisman of Energy, and I don't usually build Bulwark of Hope, because if I really need just random magic protections, I'm going into Genji's Guard for the cooldown, the MP5, and the health. Sometimes I'll go into Bulwark of Hope if they're, say, 4 magic protections. I'll go into Bulwark. I still never build Talisman of Energy on Khepri. Again, though, there are situations where I might want to if I'm doing the attack speed Khepri and I want some extra magic protections and some attack speed. I mean, it's possible. So this is basically how I'm running this right now, and I'll probably make one more episode for this because this was a fascinating match, and I think it was a great exception to the usual team comps. It was a strong enough exception that I'm willing to throw this in as kind of a bonus episode. So with that being said, this is how I approach building lightly. I go a little bit more thoroughly than this, and I'll discuss that in future episodes with either Khepri or other gods. It really depends on when a good opportunity comes up to talk about it. But thank you all very much for joining me. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, or suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below. I do read them, and have a great 24 hours.